This record is one more attempt to expand the minds of all youth worldwide. Satan is a mental disease, and its symptoms are hate, jealousy, lack of self-respect, and lack of discipline. Hear these words and strengthen yourself.
Welcome to the Ninja Tune podcast. This is Will Ashon from Big Dada. I'm taking charge today because we have a very special guest with us, the one and only Congo Natty, aka Rebel MC, aka Conquering Lion. Very nice to have you here.
Yeah, man, very nice to be here, bruv.
And the reason that Rebel is here with us today is that on July the 1st of this year, 2013, we'll be releasing his album, Jungle Revolution, on Big Dada, which is obviously a source of a huge amount of pride and excitement for us here at the label. We're really pleased to be doing it. So we asked him to come in and have a chat with us a little bit about his history, a little bit more about the record, and also to pick some classic records that have had a major influence on him over the years.
The revolution. The revolution. The revolution. The revolution.
Ready for the street soldier, real warrior. Rock off the trees and the Lucifer. Send and go a space like Jupiter. Chase like the devil man and Darth Rider. Boom boom cat, who's that Joshua? Round the walls of the new order. Dreadlocks wax with the buffalo soul. She running moving from bound for the gold. Tabernacle road that I come from road. UK story has gotta be told. Concrete jungle, that's where I live. Now it's the time of the fugitive. Fugitive, fugitive. Now it's the time of the fugitive.
Stepping out the Babylon. Stepping out of Babylon, we're stepping, fire upon the Vatican, we're stepping out of Babylon, we're stepping to the holy mount of Zion.
So, where to begin? Where to begin is actually a good question, because obviously you're not speaking to someone who's just appeared out of nowhere. You know, your career is a long and complicated thing. Where would you begin if someone had come across you and actually didn't even know about Rebel MC and Street Tough or whatever?
Jungle music from the roots.
I feel that I'd have to begin at really the start of me hearing and feeling music that was different from what I was hearing on the radio. I'm talking about reggae music. You see, music for me was always about the feeling. And what happened is, when I heard certain reggae tunes through the right system, it basically brought out a spirit in me that I didn't know was there. And a feeling, a feel good, like very emotional.
Do you think that's something very specific to reggae, or is it something that was just very specific to reggae for you?
I feel that we all have something in our life that we can connect to or we link to. Sometimes we find it early, sometimes we find it later on in life. And musically, people that love hip-hop and other musics will know the same feeling, that once they felt it, it was something that was different from everything else. And with reggae, for me, the bass line, that B line, I started actually not liking certain musics anymore because it didn't have a B-line. Because the B-line for me was something that it moved my inner soul. I feel that what happened with our generation is that we carried on the torch. It was the whole baseline vibration that we grew up in, and this is going to sound systems and buildings where the building is shaking, literally. You know what I mean?
1991, tell them about the revolution of London, England. 1994, jungle hardcore, just a mash up dance floor. 1996, we see the demon coming with a one bag of tricks. Driving this to jungle is jungle armies. This is the real thing. Go ahead.
That was how, you know, that was our music. That was how we grew up. So when I came to make music now, it had to have the subsonics from the beginning, and that was probably the most important part for me.
Okay, with that in mind, can we hear which is going to be the first record you're going to play for us today? And maybe you could tell us what it is and tell us a little bit about it.
You see, the frequencies are very important, as well as the message as well, right? Because music is, you know, it's a twofold thing. It's got the frequencies and it's also got a message, which is the word. So the first tune that we're going to talk about is Natty Dread, Bob Marley and the Wailers. So that tune was the first tune that I memorized all the lyrics. And I was a shy youth, very shy. So I wouldn't do much stuff in public. I'd do it by myself and in my room. Natty Dread was the first time that I went in front of my whole family and started dancing and singing, and it was that tune, you know. So yeah, that's the first like I just woke up.
So this is Bob Marley and the Wailers, Natty Dread.
Dread, Natty Dread now.
Natty dread,
Dread like Congo bongo high.
natty dread,
Natty dread like in a Babylon.
natty dread,
I dread like Congo bongo high.
natty dread,
Hey, children, get your culture
natty dread,
and don't stay there and just
natty dread,
or the battle will be hotter,
natty dread,
and you won't get no supper.
natty dread,
Natty dread now.
natty dread,
I dread like Congo bongo high.
natty dread,
Natty dread like in a Babylon.
natty dread,
Roots, natty.
Listening to these musics, I'm listening to some words that I don't know what he means, but they feel right for me, you know. Natty dreadlocks in a Babylon. I didn't even know I was in Babylon, you know. The thing is, it's a revelation because you go to school and you get taught, you know, the norm of what they call education. Our education was music. So music was always teaching us. And so through music, I discovered, right, Babylon, seeing, and growing up, there was, what's the word for it now? There was a culture, like a Jamaican culture that was there, the sound system culture. And it was very educational for me because I learned a lot.
But we have decided to find a leadership of our own to make ourselves free men.
If we could talk a little bit about the Double Trouble days, working with them and the records you did with them, mainly because what I found over the last year or so while you've been putting this record together is that every time I mention Rebel MC to anyone, it amazes me the amount of love and affection those records are still held in, and the amount of people who then start quoting the lines back to me, quoting the lyrics, sort of saying, I know all the words to that, oh wow, amazing. So to you it probably seems A, quite a long while ago, and B, maybe not that central to your, I don't know, maybe it seems central to your musical development, maybe not, but I think to a lot of people it was an important part of their musical landscape at the time. So maybe tell us a little bit about how that all came together and the experience of doing it and the whole thing.
Well, it was a real revolution. You know, it was youths getting together who had no money but had this energy and this love. And we started to manifest from the turntables, really, and the microphone, because that was our first instruments. So from our first instruments, we started to do mixes, like special mixes, and MCing over the mixes. So the journey, without the Rebel days, there wouldn't be Congo Natty. You know, they are in alignment, and there was no one encouraging us. There was no one trying to say, look, you know, what you're doing is great or whatever. It was real, we were lone soldiers, you know, doing this thing. And as I said, the revolution, it wouldn't have happened with just one person or two people. It was a movement of people, people's energies coming together, people meeting up. So we'd go places, link up, we'd organise dances, play our music, and then start cutting dub plates. And then things just was progressing all the time. And at the same time, I'd always this vibe about me that I wanted to go into the studio and try to put what I'm doing on the turntables into a tune. And so that's really what was happening. And meeting Lee and Michael was key because they had a studio. And the studio was, at the time, up to date. You know what I mean, with the latest things that we needed. And then Michael Menson was a top engineer, you know what I mean?
And I think you told me before that those first tracks that you made hung around for quite a while. It wasn't an instant thing that happened straight away.
No, we were working for at least a couple years up in New Cross, South London. And we were, you know, we were doing lots of stuff. Because as I said, we were DJs and MCs. But from the DJing and MCing, you're not really earning money. You're kind of surviving. To make a tune, for us, it was something that's what we felt was the next level. And when we first made Just Keep Rockin', it was done, I put it on dubplate. And I remember I took it to a dance and I didn't tell anyone it was my tune.
No matter what the people say, these sounds leads the way.
I just said, boy, I got this dub plate from so-and-so, and it busted up the dance. But the problem was, we faced the same thing we face now with labels, is that they're not really in tune with the underground.
Get funky, I'm on a mission. Hear my story in limited edition. Down the east with a warehouse session. All night business, the intention. Rounded the posse, rushed the gate. Inside was hype with the sound of the bass. From the roof, the lights were strobing. Left to right, the speakers were rocking.
And at that time, it was more about trying to get to a big label. So the labels, they weren't into Just Keep Rockin'. And on the flip side of that, we had Street Tough. So we serviced the two tunes to all the labels at the time, and they weren't into it. So, you know, it was a struggle, and also for us, we didn't care because we were playing it in the dances and it was busting it up. So for us, that was job done.
Get out, the MC has started. Pump up the house and groove it. Stop, you're in a shakedown zone. You like bass? I love it to the bone. Hustle, I got muscle. Time to rock 'cause the rhythm is trouble. Dance, let's go crazy. When you see me shout Rebel MC, out north, kicking up dust. Know what it is? I'm just Street Tough.
After the whole Double Trouble thing, you were trying out new things, that you were moving more towards running things yourself and moving more towards an underground sort of setup. I'm sure that isn't how it felt from the inside, but I'd be interested to know how you see those years, the early 90s, leading towards the development of jungle, I guess, as it came to be known.
Now hear this. This sound and a dibby dibby sound
This are the wickedest sound and garden in town. So follow me now.
When you're doing this music, there's a lot of pressure, and people don't realize that, especially if you have a hit. So Street Tough was a big tune, and you know, there's a lot of pressure to repeat the success and to keep on repeating that success. For I didn't want that. I didn't want to be up in the magazines. I didn't want to be up in that kind of environment. I really wanted to stay on the streets and do my movements. So what happened was, if you notice, the music got harder and harder and harder till it was totally not accepted by radio. They would not play it, you know what I mean? And that pleased me, because there's a time for radio, but there's also a time where you just create and you have that freedom to create.
Get set, ready as I inject intellect to the groove, so you quick step. Don't fret as I give a quick mic check. Think me done, coulda never known, not yet. Accept, this is not a reject. On stage so we're live and direct. Beginner size, not small like insect. If you're pirate, you sink like a shipwreck. Ride instrumental, fast like a jump jet. So get ready for the ragamuffin concept.
You're renowned as one of the pioneers of what became jungle, and it's interesting to hear you say that partly it was almost a deliberate attempt to reclaim the underground, to move away from the mainstream. How did what you were doing fit in with what other people were doing at the time? Did it feel like you were doing something in isolation, or did you feel part of a broader movement as it developed?
There was both. There was isolation, and at the same time there was something bigger, something more, that you can't even see it. You feel it, you know, and it's growing. And as I said, we weren't it's not premeditation, it's free spirit. And there is a pressure as an artist to make tunes that will be successful. So when you're signed to a label, they want success. What does success really mean? If it's success based on the fact that people are loving your music for what it is, that's success. But if success is because you're making premeditated pop music just to be accessible to radio, I don't class that as success, because music for me has always been fundamentally a feeling, and also it's a two-way communication, transmission and receiving. So you're transmitting a frequency and you're hoping that people are picking it up, and they were picking it up along the way. So I give thanks for now when I meet people that say to me, oh, I loved, what you did, the Black Meaning Good album. And it's like a blessing to hear those things, and it's also encouraging, because we didn't really get a lot of encouragement at the time. We got a lot of fight and a lot of disrespect,
Lyrical pen full again, just watch me. Let them listen, my police can stop me. Don't you know, you're rolling with a black knight. Uplift your mind, Mr. Black and white. Learn, no matter what the age. Definition is flick to the page. Black, the subject of track. Get back, always slap the weak rap. Run, come, fight for freedom. Expose the reality, time has come. Peace in the light, oh yes, another stereotype. White is pure, pure is white. 2020 vision, but you got short sight. Racial tension in other country. Malcolm X was the black one, now move me. Marcus Garvey, Nesta Marley, Moses, black positivity. Ripping again on the mic with a black fight. Come again to set the wrong right.
So maybe now at that point we'll move on to your second choice of record. If you want to tell us once again what it is and why you picked it.
Yeah, the second tune is Kunta Kinte, Dub, by the Revolutionaries. And this was a tune that was only available on Dubplay. And it was our generation's anthem. When it was played in a dance, the first time it was played in a dance, the whole dance stopped. starts off with the Kunta Kinte melody from Roots, and Roots had come out. So Roots preceded the dub, because the dub was made as a tribute to the movie Roots. So we were English youths that had suddenly discovered that we're African, because we didn't know about the fact that the Jamaica, they were taken from Africa, brought to Jamaica, and then here we are now. So we started to make this link with Africa. This tune came, and to be honest, at the time it was the #1 tune, and only a few sounds had it. So a sound could play for the whole night, and if they didn't have Kunta dub, they're gonna lose the clash. So a man could win the clash off of one tune. So the Kunta Kinte revolution, you know, was something that influenced me, and it's something that was there for our generation as a wake up. You know what I mean?
Back to the jungle thing. I mean, I don't know how you see it, but I think there's a general feeling that a high watermark for it was Carnival in '94. Would that have been the year of Code Red?
Yeah, '94 was the year that jungle surfaced to the masses. If you went to Carnival '93 or you were around '93, you know the difference. By '94, jungle was officially the UK's #1 music.
So what was it like there that year? It must have been, because I wasn't there, but I get the impression it was one of those years where wherever you went, every sound system was playing Code Red. It must be a nice feeling to hear your record coming out of everywhere.
Yes, it was a nice feeling, but the feeling was nicer and sweeter because it was for everyone. Jungle was music that came from the streets, came from people that didn't have much, had shit lives really, you know, when all was said and done, you know what I mean? So when they had this music now that could suddenly change their life and improve their life, and it improved people's lives. So that for me was the most loving and positive thing of that year, was the fact that for the first time people took us seriously as underground artists and underground musicians. People actually, you know, were looking at it like, you know what, this is something special.
Back up to the gate, you figure. Punch jump on the sound of us. Back up to the gate, you figure. Punch jump on the sound of us. Back up to the gate, you figure. Punch jump on the sound of us. Back up to the gate, you figure.
But then moving on from there, moving on into the mid to late 90s, I guess there was something of a backlash. There was the growth of drum and bass. There was also the media kind of general perception that jungle, you know, that any jungle dance was just a violent crack den waiting to explode into, you know, armed whatever. So, I mean, that must have been a hard time in a lot of ways, to have felt something blooming away and then to see it being, or see an attempt to crush it, must have been difficult. Maybe you could tell me a bit about that.
Jungle music became a threat to the establishment. So the establishment had to fight it, because the establishment wants to monopolize and control music. They want to feed the people what they want them to hear. Jungle was anti-establishment and is still anti-establishment, and is also a people's music with a message. So they tried to corrupt jungle. Jungle had man in there from day one, you know, so-called mans that they would say are or gangsters or badmans or whatever. But jungle was the thing, was the water to the fire. So when the jungle dances started to become more popular, I had mans from Tottenham that I was saying to them, listen, come and check this dance. And what surprised me was by the time 94 came, you're seeing a lot of ghetto mans in the dance from all different parts of London. Now, this is unheard of because you can't get all these kind of people in one space without some guns popping off and certain things happening. This was for the first time that everybody came together in love and happiness. After a few years, things changed.
Now before making records,
But what happened with the music is that they tried to run out the frequencies, and the frequencies changed. And with the frequency changing, the attitudes start to change.
So for you personally, what was, a question that people ask me, people who've maybe not followed what you've done since, all the stuff you've done since, is, what happened after that? Where did he go? What did he do?
After 94, 95, and then come 96, by that year, I had to withdraw myself.
'cause from the hood I came into the hood I must return.
Because the scene had become a monster scene, and also they tried to change the name, so I had to put out a tune, a statement, and my way of being a part of anything was to talk musically, and Junglist Man came out, and Junglist Man, the lyrics of Junglist Man, when you listen to it, it's all about sending the message of I'm a junglist and I'm going to carry on being a junglist, and I'll make this music, and if there's one person that buys my tune, so be it.
When I am weak, you're telling me that I'm strong. When I'm right, you're telling me that I'm wrong. But I know, now I understand. Now I see your wicked plan. I'm a junglist. Don't try to change my plan. Understand. Why won't you understand? I'm a junglist. Cause from the hood I came.
Once again, it's quite a brave stance, really, because you could have just gone along with the whole drum and bass thing and done a nice major label album with a string section and what have you, and sort of eased off a little bit on the vocals and joined in with that whole thing. But you chose a different route.
I'm a junglist.
I feel that the route was already chosen for me.
Don't try to change my plan.
I feel that you are, as I said before in this interview, you are who you are. And I'm a junglist. But I didn't know I was a junglist because when you're growing up in the UK and you're going and doing your thing, you're a reggae man. Then I grew up a bit more, I was a hip hop man. Seeing? And then I was doing my thing, raving and doing my street sounds thing. So all this time I was a junglist because jungle music is something that it didn't happen in 94, it didn't start in 93 or 92. It's something that came from the slave ships right through that inner vibration, that anti, the slave master. Because to be a slave, you can have chains on your foot, but take off the chains. If you're mentally a slave, you're still going to be a slave, right? Music, jungle music, couldn't go into the slave master's house. We had to keep it free because jungle is a free spirit and it's here to feed the world.
And now let's talk a little bit about your new album, about Jungle Revolution, that's coming out very soon, July the 1st. Tell me about how the idea for the album and how the album itself, recording the album and making the album all came together.
Jungle Revolution is really the fullness of everything that's been before it. And it had to be released in this time. It so happens that it's been ordained that it must come through Big Dada and Congo Natty partnership. And I feel that this is a way of Jungle saying, listen, we're up for it. We're up to do works with people who are real and who can see the vision and feel the vision. Because Jungle, out of all the musics in the world, it's the most underrated music. It's the least, when it comes to earning money and generating finances, Jungle is not really up there. Potentially, it's the biggest music in the world because the world's got static right now.
So many names that got me. They are China Army. I'm a soldier from that army. Back my little Gabi. Still gon' lead, still gon' fight. Still gon' read, still gon' write. Still gon' preach, still gon' riot. Still gon' roll like dynamite. Label as a rebel. Some coming basic on no table. I've been chased by every devil. Stop, look in my book. Label as a rebel. Some coming basic on no table. I've been chased. Stop, look in my book.
What I thought we could do was talk about a couple of the tunes on the record and play them as well. I mean, an obvious place to start is probably with UK All Stars, which was the first track that we released from the record, and which has what you can only describe as a stellar cast of MCs on it. Tell me a little bit about how that came together and how you managed to get all those people to commit to doing it, and all in one room to do the video as well.
Big up Tenor Fly, big up Top Cat. Sweetie Irie, big up Tipper Irie. Daddy Freddy, big up a brother like General Lady.
Congo Natty. All and pull it, me select, I say all and pull it. This a one is like a bullet. All and pull it, me select, I say all and pull it. This a one is like a bullet. All and pull it, me select, I say all and pull it. This a one is like a bullet.
Come again, my selector.
UK All Stars is 100% what it is. These MCs are stars, and they've been shining bright for over 2 decades. And there's a whole new generation out there, and some know them, some don't. Some are gonna find out the history through tunes like this and start to investigate. And to get us together, I would firstly say there's a higher force involved, because it's very difficult to get all these people in one move. And also not just together, because you can get people together, but do they believe in it? Do they feel it? Are they up for it? And everyone is 100% full of energy. The room where we done the video, it felt like it was 1990. It felt like it was 1990. It could have been the 80s with the man them. The energy was there. The difference was that if we tried to do this 20 years ago, it wouldn't work, because too many egos, you know? And now you find that you go through a phase of your life where you let out certain energies, and what's left is the purity. So now we're at a stage where we just want to make music.
We again, so we have to bring the liquor to be there, yeah. They tell me where the cops is. Plus I'm on a movie, I will buy the boxes. Fun email, text message and boxes. I know the place gets so much love. You know see how you guide over us. All and pull it, me select, I say all and pull it. This a one is like a bullet. All and pull it, me select, I say all and pull it. This a one is like a bullet. All and pull it, me select, I say all and pull it.
This a one, this like a bullet.
That was UK All Stars. I wonder whether you'd like to pick a track from the record yourself, which you feel represents to a casual listener what the album's about, what you're about, what Congo Natty's about, what Jungle's about.
Yeah, I would say all the tracks on the album are really saying that message and giving you that insight. If I'm gonna pick one tune now, I'd have to pick Microchip. The tune that says "Say No to the Microchip," because right now we've got a whole new set of youths that are born up in a digital time. Digital youths, all they know is the digital era. We're from the analog and the digital, so we've got a perspective of both. We've got vinyl and we've got CD and we've got Serato, so everything's a 360. So now I feel that it's good that the youths them can access information. It's good that they can sit in their room, bill a tune and do all this stuff. At the same time, they have to know the 360, and Jungle is knowing the 360. Saying no to the microchip is like saying, listen, have a machine, have your phone, all this stuff is cool, but don't become a machine. Don't turn yourself into a computer program. You know, keep your freeness, keep your spirit, keep your soul, you know, and say no to the microchip, because they're coming with the barcode. They want to barcode you, they want to put the barcode in your right hand, and then at that point you will become a program.
Make you go crazy, brainwashing us.
You better say no.
A new world order.
Babylon, set a plan. Babylon, set a plan. Babylon done set a plan. Put the microchip in your right hand. Overstand is the revelation. Down a land and England. And the youth them are revolutionary. You know, say them are the sons and daughters of Bob Marley.
All these youths come hard with the mark of the beat, sparkling the part of being hard to be made so past with a great pocket, raise the bar hard and sing. Common and start to see, so the youth and the most side part of the scene start to see who's who. Snakes in the grass, spikes of the yard after praise. The angels of Allah, sing and save you for the night. With the youth to the sky, it's with the truth. We're gonna rise, there's no surprise when I'm high in the booth. When I'm high, smoking great until my eyes ache. Blaze, I never die.
A new world order.
NGO.
So that was Microchip from Jungle Revolution. That was the final track of the new album. I think that's a great point to listen to your next record. So if you could tell us what that is going to be, that would be great.
Yeah, man, the next tune is TLA Rock with DJ Jazzy J. It's Yours, released on Def Jam.
Good choice. Could you tell me why you've chosen that in particular?
There's tunes now that you just hear, and we were the hip-hop youths. You know, hip-hop was for us, so we got into hip-hop heavily. This tune I just mentioned, the first time I had it was on a cassette, and I reckon I rubbed the cassette out because I couldn't stop playing the tune. And if you listen to the lyrics again of what he's saying on the tune, he's talking about this universal revolutionary sound that's going to take over. So he kind of prophesied hip-hop in this one tune. Also the scratching and the cutting, we weren't up to that standard. We were just hearing these cuts and these scratches and the beats and everything. So for me, that was like my schooling.
Okay, It's Yours. Great tune.
Commentating, illustrating, description giving, adjective expert, analyzing some as a musical myth, seeking people of the universe. This is yours. It's yours. Do you like it? Yeah. Do you want it? Yeah. Well, if you had it, would you flaunt it? Yeah. Well, it's yours. Taking a record that's already made with the help of the mixboard used in the crossfade. Rhythm can be kept to a self-choice pace, depending on moment or depth of bass. I don't really know, but somebody
I think we'll have a listen to your next record. If you could tell us once again, go through the same process, tell us what that record is and why you've chosen to play it to us today.
The next tune is Funky Drummer, but the reprised bonus beats version that was on the album, James Brown. And this album was one of my dad's albums. So my dad had a heavy collection of reggae fundamentally, but he was into his soul and his blues and his jazz. So I discovered this James Brown LP, and the beats on Funky Drummer, once you hear them and they penetrate you, then it is a life changer.
Ain't it funky? Ain't it funky? Ain't it funky? Ain't it funky?
I'd love to play more of it, but I think we're probably running a bit short on time, and we still have one more choice for you to make for your final track. So I'd ask you to pick the final track for us today.
Yeah. The final tune today is Rebel Without a Pause, Public Enemy, Professor Griff, Chuck D, Flavor Flav, Terminator X. Seeing? This tune, for the youths that don't know, this tune is a jungle tune. Because jungle, for me, is hip-hop. Jungle is reggae. It's the fullness of all musics that's been before it and after it. So this tune by Public Enemy was 100% for the youths. It was for us to wake us up again. I'm talking about today about this waking up thing. Public Enemy showed us things we didn't know about the government, about things that are going on in the system, the corruption scene. So this tune had that message on the top line, but then on a production level with the Bomb Squad, it had the Funky Drummer was in there as probably the main beat. B-line, energy, scratching, powers. And if you drop that tune in a dance, what I used to drop it in, my Beat Freak dances, you're talking about at least 4 reloads.
1, 2, 3, 4. Brothers and sisters.
What a fantastic tune to finish with. Rebel Without a Pause by Public Enemy.
Brothers and sisters, I don't know what this world is coming to.
Yes, the rhythm's a rebel. Without a pause, I'm lowering my level. The hard rhymer, where you never been, I'm in. You want styling? You know it's time again. D, the enemy, telling you to hear it. They praise the music, it's time to play the lyrics. Some say no to the album, the show. Bum rush the sound, I made a year ago. I guess you know, you guess I'm just a radical. Not on sabbatical, yes, to make it critical. The only part of your body should be partying too. Pass the power on the hour from the rebel to you.
Hey, yo, Chuck, man, I don't understand this, man. Yo, you got this slow down, man. You're losing them.
Radio, suckers never play me. On the mix, they just okay me now, known and grown. When they're clocking my zone, there's no sneaking and taking everything that the brother owns. My calling card, recorded and ordered. Supporter of Chesimard, loud and proud. Kicking live, next poet supreme. Loop for truth, bazooka, the scheme. Flavor, a rebel in his own mind. Supporter of my rhymes, designed to scatter a line of suckers who claim I do crime. They on my time, dig it.
Hey, yo, Chuck, they think we taking short. Show them this is Cole Medina, man. Come on, kick it.
Terminator X. Terminator X. Terminator X. Kick the Terminator.
Well, that's all we've got time for. It's been a real pleasure to have you here today. This is Congo Natty, Rebel MC. Thank you very much for coming and talking to us today.
Thank you for having me. Peace, love, and unity. One love.
We've reached that time now where we're going to turn our attention to some of the new music coming out of Ninja Tune and its family of labels, starting with Machine Drum and a track called Eyes Don't Lie, which will be released very soon on Ninja Tune. That was Machine Drum with a track called Eyes Don't Lie, taken from his forthcoming album Vapor City. Next up we have Grey Reverend on the Cinematic Orchestra's Motion label with a track called Everlasting.
Listen to what some say, who can only warn me on these islands. Down is such a long way for me, you don't want to go. Taken from the outside, I can be the one who always almost gone before you run. Believe me, you don't want to know. Left behind, everlasting, everything is on the other side. So let me find, everlasting, everything is on the other side.
That was Everlasting by Grey Reverend. This one's from former podcast guest Emika with her new single Centuries coming out on Ninja Tune. Centuries by Emika. Coming up next, it's Helena Hauff on Work Discs, the label run by Actress, and this track is called Break Force. That was Break Force by Helena Hauff. And finally, we had the debut single from British Knights called If I Was To, which is available now on Technicolor.
If I was to put my hands on you, would you reciprocate it, reciprocate, send your love my way, reciprocate. your love my way. Girl, I can see the way you look at me, and I'm thinking, will she reciprocate, reciprocate, reciprocate? Send your love my way, reciprocate. There's no time to waste. Come back to my place. We can get lazy. Reciprocate, reciprocate, reciprocate. Send your love my way, reciprocate. No time to lose. You're the one that I choose. Kick back, let loose. Reciprocate, reciprocate, reciprocate. Send your love my way, reciprocate. From head to toe, girl, I'm in control. Just go with the flow. Reciprocate, reciprocate, reciprocate. Send your love my way, reciprocate. Reciprocate, send your love my way. Reciprocate, reciprocate, send your love my way. Girl, I can see the way you look at me, and I'm thinking, will she reciprocate, reciprocate, reciprocate? Send your love my way, reciprocate. There's no time to waste. Come back to my place. We can get laced. Reciprocate, reciprocate, reciprocate. Send your love my way, reciprocate.
That was If I Was To by British Knights. And that's the end, the final track of the Ninja Tune podcast. Many thanks to Congo Natty for being our guest and to DK for producing this podcast so beautifully. My name is Will Ashon and this is me, Will Ashon, saying goodbye.